welcome back to another episode of the Full QuickTake. I'm here with my co-host, Nicholas Saudi. How are you doing today?
Doing good, man.
Okay, so today's topic is super sensitive and it hits really, really close to home. You know, we grew up in a household of strong women that helped raise us, to help build our character. They taught us our culture. So in the Navajo household, we hold our women to a high standards.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, we did lose 3 Indigenous women this past week to domestic violence. What are your thoughts about this?
It's sad, man. Like when you really think about like how these women passed away is due to domestic violence, and these two unfortunate events. One happened in Gallup, and another happened in a really close to where we live, man.
Like in
Scottsdale area. Yeah. So it's sad, you know, when you hear about events that happen like this, and just to people that never wanted any of this to happen. And you think about these things and it's just sad. And it's just, these people didn't deserve what happened to them, you know? What's your thoughts?
Okay, so like domestic violence is a super relevant topic in our communities, in the reservations, because it happens very often. I've lost my family members to domestic violence, and it really does suck because we were talking before the pod that most of the domestic violence that happens on res, it's not caught on camera. There's no evidence. It's hard to pin the culprit.
Yeah.
You just know it's them missing Indigenous women. Like they just, nothing happens, and I'm super thankful that at least one of these was caught on camera, so there's no hiding. The guy is gonna face life in prison, and I'm super like happy about that. It just sucks that I wish things like this didn't happen to our people.
Exactly. And it's just like, it's like how you said, like the incident that happened in Gallup, there was a man who shot his
granddaughter,
his daughter-in-law and his granddaughter, and later drove away to Fort Defiance and then ended his own life, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately, but you know, it's sad that, you know, death goes all around, and it's just like, it's unneeded. All that stuff didn't need to happen. And then they had to do a lot of investigating to kind of figure out what happened to that man. And they had to ask like the neighbors, you know, like, was there, and the neighbors and the witnesses did say that there was incidences of domestic violence between them. And I do feel like domestic violence is a big thing on the reservation, and it sucks that's how it is. You know, whether it's alcohol, drugs, substance abuse, or anything like that, it leads to domestic violence, and it's just sad. And what happened in Tempe, there was a man, and that's what's crazy, man, is like they're all our age. They're 20. They're both 23 years old.
Yeah, there's 2 23-year-olds, and then the elder woman and the two sisters that passed away, or the 2 family members that passed away. One was 30, 34.
Yeah, the man that killed him was like 72 and all that, and it's just sad, man. That, like, I give my condolences to the families for all this loss and this death, because it just didn't need to happen, you know. And it's reading the reports that happened over in Tempe with the guy that, like, he stabbed his girlfriend at the time in the clubhouse to death. It's just like, he said he didn't have any history of mental illness, and he said he cut his hand, and when he was in the hospital, he told the police officer, he was just like, you know, just end me now because I don't want to go to prison. And when the officer told him that, you know, his girlfriend passed away because of him, he was just like, I'm used to receiving bad news, and that's what irks me, man. And I was just like, he says he doesn't remember what happened, and it's just like, come on, man. How are you going to react to somebody that you killed, you know, and say that you're used to receiving bad news?
Yeah, it's definitely like, first thing, like, it's a really sensitive topic. Like, normally our quick takes aren't like, we make it light and fun, but, you know, we try to make it about Indigenous topics and furthering the theme. We always talk about Deb Holland. We always talk about what Jonathan Nez is doing.
Yeah.
Like, we like to see people succeed. And the NASA guy, Aaron Yazzie, like, we want to talk about all those great accomplishments, but on the backside, it's like, you do have to weigh in on the bad side of the reservation and all the struggles we have. And this is just one of those struggles. And it's unfortunate that people have to lose their lives.
Yeah.
But like in my experience, it does seem like there's a pattern. If you're in a toxic relationship, if you're in an abusive relationship, you should try to get out. I do get that. Like, there's a lot of it's not easy. It's super easy. It's like it's one of those things like, oh, well, how do I become successful? You work hard. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, why don't you just leave? It's like, it's harder than that. There's a lot of factors. You care for the
Yeah.
person. You think the person's going to change. You have hopeful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you have hope for them. You hope they get better. But, sometimes things just don't work out and you have to be okay with that.
Yeah, being in both of us being in
Yeah.
kind of toxic relationships in the past, those things do lead up to depression. They do lead to suicidal thoughts. They do lead to the dark side of everything, and that's what really sucks about all that. And it's just, if you want help,
Yeah.
get help and just try to find your way, find reasons to get out. And just, it's gonna be hard. It's gonna suck at first, but just keep pushing on and figure out a way to get through. And that's one thing, like how you said, is like, this is one of the bad sides of the Navajo Nation. And then one
And
things that
all reservations
and
in
all
general.
reservations that we kind of deal with, is that domestic violence and abuse.
Yeah, that's why I get so tight when people, it's like, oh, Native Americans get all this free money, they get all this help, and it's like, you don't know the statistics. Like, just go look any statistics about alcohol abuse, drug abuse, wellness, and mental health, and all these other things like poverty. It's the reservation is not a fun place to live. It's hard. It's a hard
Hmm.
area to live, and we experienced that. Our family experienced that. We grew up in it,
Hmm.
and for people on the outside, just say it's so easy. You guys get the vaccines. You guys get free education. You guys get free
Yeah,
money from the government, and it's like, no. There's
there's
a lot of things that like we have to face that normal people wouldn't, and whenever like I go see our family members, it's always like, oh, I this person passed away, R.I.P. to them, R.I.P. to. It's like when we have those moments, I get sad because like I'm such a hopeful person, but when you see the facts, you see incidents like these where young females lost their lives and they're our age,
hmm
and it always brings us this topic. It's like, how are you gonna raise a child in this world? And it's like, you don't want to bring another human into this world if that's the reality.
it for me, bro, it kind of hits different when it's our generation.
Yeah.
Because growing up I was used to seeing it being, the generations before us,
Yeah.
dealing with that stuff. But now that we're at the age to where now our generation is dealing with that. And that's one thing that like goes back to what you said, is like, even though we're such a big reservation, we know everybody. We treat everybody like their family. We all know each other.
Yeah.
And it's just, you see, like, you just reading this, I read it as like, I lost my sister. I lost a sister,
Yeah.
and I lost a brother, and who kind of lost his mentality, for whatever reasons, like, I don't know what drove these two men to be able to do these horrendous things, whether it be how they grew up, or like if it was substance abuse, if they were raised on that, they didn't have no family. But it all goes back to the fundamentals of how you were raised, like kind of like how you said. And you know our reservations do deal with a lot of hardship
Yeah.
because of what has happened in the past. And this brings to light, you know how generational trauma can be passed down, to the next generation. Because if, say, he had like a bad family, that would beat him, his they were drunks or drug addicts, the next generation tends to pick up on those things. And
Yeah.
it's sad, like, it really does hit different when you see that, like, it's our generation news headlines of this thing happening now.
Yeah, it's super great. That there's GoFundMe's. Like, I'll put all the link in the descriptions. That they're raising money for the funerals.
Hmm.
Uh, you know, it just seems like they have the support of our community, and everybody seems to be sharing the information, and hopes that the younger generation gets the hint that this isn't okay. We need to combat this somehow, whether it's mental health, uh, drug addictions. Like, we need to find a way to help our communities. There are things that like I think about is like we keep waiting for like a bailout from like the government. We think the government's gonna fix it, but we have to fix it ourselves. I think we
Hmm.
have to take ownership of it, and that's kind of the reason why like I wanted to talk about it, because you, like we said, like in the beginning, we don't normally want to cover these topics because we're more of like a cheerful podcast. We try to
Yeah.
make jokes and we talk about like Uber and weed and Joe Rogan a lot.
Yeah.
And this isn't one of those topics that we like discussing.
Yeah.
But it is one of the harsh realities of our reservation, and we do feel like we show responsibility to voice that awareness.
Yeah.
And we're trying to build a voice for the Navajo people and using that voice in a good way. And we should spread awareness of our missing Indigenous women and for all the domestic violence they go through.
Yeah, and you know, to first recognize it, or to deal with the problem is to recognize that there is a problem.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that I think we're doing is, so, you know, if you guys can donate to the families to help with the funeral costs, you know, pray for their spirits, pray for, you know, that they make it to the next world, you know, they can be with their ancestors and everything. So just, you know, pray for them and pray for our nation too, because everyone's suffering right now. And just like I said, we want to bring light more to MMIW. You know, a lot of the missing Indigenous sisters that go, it just sucks that every day, you know, there's always a new picture of someone going missing. So bring light. We're going to try to help bring light to this so we can let the people know that this is a problem, and we all need to band together as a tribe, like how we used to do a long time ago. When the enemy used to come over the hill, we all fought together. Now it's not a physical enemy no more. It's a mental enemy, that's an invisible enemy that's coming to us now. And us as Indigenous people need to stand together and figure out a way to find these solutions.
Yeah, just the way like we all banded together to help fight COVID. You know, we had these laws, we had all these people supporting it. Everybody was wearing masks, everybody's getting vaccinated. We need to do the same thing for the missing Indigenous women because you know they are the backbone of our communities. It's just like how we said, we're raised by like strong Navajo women, and like you were just talking about that. Like every time you read one of these stories, you think about your sisters, you think about your cousins, you think about your moms, and it's really hard to like to spread awareness in a way that like I just wish I pray for all these families and all the hardships they go through because it's one of those topics that's really hard to voice your you don't want to disrespect the family in any way. I support the family. I've donated money, and I just hope that the justice is served. And if there is a GoFundMe for the lawyers and fees, I would happily donate to that too. I just hope that justice gets served and this guy like serves life in prison. Unfortunately, the other guy took the easy way out and killed himself, and that's. I just wish he would have lived with his decisions. It's like the UPS guy that shot up the UPS and killed himself after killing 8 people. Well, it's like that's the easy way out. I just wished justice would get served.
Well, just think about it, bro. Like he's got to deal with that repercussions in the afterlife.
Yeah, in the spirit world,
and that's forever.
Yeah,
remember that. You know, so you know he's gonna be judged by our Creator and all that for what he's done, and you know I'm pretty sure he's gonna feel the whole wrath more so than what he could have ever done in our world. So.
So thank you for watching. Please go donate if you can, and have these Indigenous women in your